Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
This is Mary Scott, and today we are chatting with the awesome Michelle Peel, who is a graphic artist on the Gold Coast in Australia. My goodness, we better get going with some more interviews on the other side of the world. If you are here today, don't go away. This woman has some awesome information to share with you about her journey, about personal development, and how she has become a very successful business owner through her own personal growth and of course her skills. Let's not forget that. Michelle, hello to you. How are you doing? It's this morning. I can see out your blinds there.
Yeah,
the morning's breaking.
A little bit grey today. There's a bit of rain about, but thank you, Mary, for having me. I really appreciate you taking me on board for the conversation. I'm really excited. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, you've been a member here and we like to acknowledge people's journey. So let's just go back a little bit. When did you first get introduced to personal development? Can you remember?
You can. It's a long time ago, and I thought to myself, do I really want to tell people how long ago it was? It's actually 40 years ago. I was 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
18,
yeah. And I was sugar. Sorry about that. That's my memory. So I was working for a print company, and I started work when I was 16, as we did back then, and my journey started as a typesetter in a commercial printing business. And I really wanted an apprenticeship. They wouldn't give me an apprenticeship, so I decided I'd go into the newspaper industry. That's when I crashed and burned, because it was all shift work, and my mental health really deteriorated because my friends were all out partying. I was working from 1 o'clock until 3 a.m. getting the paper ready with doing, advertising in the paper, and I just could not hack it. So, I was under a doctor, and they introduced me to Wayne Dwyer's Your Erroneous Zones.
Oh, wow. That was one of his first books. I remember that. Yeah.
And I'm blown away. Like, I never realised this until later in life that was my beginning. Yeah. So it made me understand my mindset a lot and how I'd been raised. It was great.
So when you say about, I've done night shift, but 1 o'clock till 3, was it the actual lack of sleep? What was bringing you undone? Let's use that word.
I think it was the boredom of the job, to be honest, because it was so repetitive, and we couldn't leave. We weren't allowed to leave until the paper was on the web printing. So you were controlled by the whole outcome. So, I love print. I love printing. I love the smell of the ink, and that I feel home when I smell the ink of printers. So, but commercial was my baby. I loved working in commercial. So, I worked through it, and it was just about the fact that I couldn't get away. I was controlled. I think that's what did it to me.
Control. Wow, that's interesting. And let me ask another question, nothing to do with personal development. I love this. In those days, because we're talking 40 years ago, is that when the paper used to roll out and then be bundled up and delivered manually? Wow, that's amazing.
I worked for the Murdoch industry, so it was fascinating. Absolutely.
How exciting. Wow, fantastic. So let's go to the next. What was the next big thing you remember about your personal development?
Well, having had that experience, I decided to get out of paper and transfer my apprenticeship back into commercial, and I ended up in a graphic art and designed a studio, which I ran for 9 years in Melbourne. So that gave me the confidence to believe in myself and really take charge. And I had apprentices and all sorts. That was a really fun time of my life. So I was fortunate enough to be on the cusp of the changing industry, from the old school typesetting to Apple Macs, and be able to produce books and all sorts of things. So that was my really fun time in my life. I was only 23. So, yeah.
Well, that's right. I was racing ahead. I was thinking, oh my gosh, it's so interesting to go from 18 and then suddenly we're at 23, and you're talking about confidence. Let me ask you something about this. Do you think confidence is gained by failing forward, or do you think confidence is something that comes from a repetitive action? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's failing forward. I really do, because it builds up. You get that confidence as you grow. So, and start believing in yourself more, and the more positives come about, because you just putting behind you what's happened and just keep rolling forward. Yeah, so I just think that absolutely it's about failing forward.
Well, that's exactly right. And back then, I'm guessing when you get into the whole graphic world, there's lots of creative people. Did you at one point, let me go back. I'm getting ahead of myself. When did you move into real entrepreneurism? Because I know you've had a couple of bricks and mortar business, you and your husband, Mick. Absolutely. So tell us what that transition was like. Yeah,
so we were commuting from Geelong to Melbourne every day. He was a Crown and Bridge dental technician in Russell Street.
How long does that take, Michelle, just for people on the other side of the world?
An hour a day. It was great. We used to sleep. It was good. We used to sleep on the train.
Oh, I was going to say, who was driving? You had me worried there for a minute. Oh, my gosh.
I can tell you some stories about the train trips, I tell you. But, we used to sleep, and we'd get off at North Melbourne, and I'd get off at North Melbourne. He'd get on the loop and go into the city, and we'd meet at North Melbourne to go home every night, day in, day out. So our journey, he decided he wanted, his bosses, he was very good at his trade, so we decided to start the dental laboratory in our back bedroom, and we'd get home at night and he'd start working, and I'd go off and work at another typesetting place and we were building a house, and we were engaged, and we were just getting ready to...
Ain't love great, hey?
So, still together 38 years later, so yeah, it's but no, it started there. We decided... I've had parents who... My father was very entrepreneurial, and I watched him always changing jobs and looking for opportunities, and my mindset was always in that mindset of I always wanted to run my own business. And the dental laboratory was the first step, because, Michael was very good at his work, and we worked in our back bedroom for a few years and built it up to then have a laboratory in Belmont in Geelong.
So, Michelle, tell me more. You're into business. You're working 2 jobs each by the sound of it. What was your mindset like in those days? Come home and then go to another job. Michael, come home, get into work. Tell me about your mindset. What do you remember about those days? Yeah. Was it super positive, or, oh my gosh?
No, super positive. I was so focused to be running our own business was the goal, to have that autonomy and flexibility. And not that it gives you that, because you work absolutely a lot harder when you're running your own business. But we were young. We were, we wanted to have children and to have our own business. We were married for 5 years and running our own business, and then we had children, and to have that flexibility around our children was the key. So, and we ran that for 11 years.
And what was your biggest learnings? Let's focus back on personal development, your journey. Did you have some...
Yeah, look, our second business was probably more the personal development kicked in more. So I engaged a life coach and a business coach. So I had both. And the personal development, I was forever reading books. I, Think and Grow Rich, Richest Man in Babylon. I've read all the books, and I was always listening to, and I still do to this day. I'm always listening. It just keeps feeding my mind. You never stop learning with personal development. It just gives you that. I feel it gives you an edge when you are feeding your mind. What's the saying? Jim Rohn says, if an education will earn you a living, but working on yourself, or whatever that saying.
Yeah, I know. I remember that saying.
Yeah,
it's funny you mention Think and Grow Rich. I think from memory, and I must check this out before someone comes down on me, but I think that's one of the top selling, if not the top selling books in the world today. And if you haven't read that book, do yourself a favor. It is well worth it. The Richest Man in Babylon, read that a long time ago. And another little book, it's a little book, but it's got a very powerful punch. Do you believe then that books have influenced you? And now we're into audio books and all that kind of thing. Tell me about the influence of personal development books in your life.
One I still to this day think was the best book I read was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I actually gave that to my children to read when they were, mature enough to read it. And they read that book as teenagers, and it's a really good, it's an old school book, but by heck, it's a grounded book for people to understand that, not everyone's going to like you.
Ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth? Yeah. So PD has been a very big part in my life, and still is to this day. I just, I thrive on it.
What about your kids? I mean, there's a good point. You give them this book, and I'm pretty certain that's been updated, revised, Dale Carnegie's book. And he really was one of the founders of the whole personal development, along with a number of other people. But tell me about your kids' experience of reading that book. Do you remember? I know it wasn't yesterday.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Were they open to it?
They weren't very open to it.
Did it spark an interest?
Look,
what did they...
My children have, we have been in business their whole lives, and they were accustomed to having that mindset of, to get where you want to go is to believe in yourself, and to understand the book was a good step, good starting point for them to. And now to this day, they're jumping on podcasts. They're very, very into personal development, my children. So, and whether that was because I planted the seed or not, I don't know, but I believe maybe, I think it's been a great, a really good starting point for them. Yeah.
Well, I think that this whole generational shift that needs to take place has to be founded, if you like, if that's the word, in a deep understanding of yourself, and certainly the whole personal development industry. The reason I asked about books is it's been my experience that a lot of people read books, but they don't implement them, so they don't integrate them, and you don't bring them into their lives, into your own lives. Would you say that's true for you, or no, you've implemented just about everything you've read over the years? What would be the best way to put it?
I'd say that would be very true, Mary. I would say that. I guess, when I went through the education system, I didn't really get privy to any of that. It's only in my later years that I got privy to it. And I think that if it was introduced more in our earlier years, we would probably take it on board a lot more and, implement it a lot more, because we'd know how. And that's where a coach comes in, I believe. A coach is really important to keep you accountable and keep you on track and know where, you want to go. And it's about, keeping to the program and keep reading the books and believing in yourself and knowing that the outcome does come.
Absolutely. So let's move forward. Let's talk about another pivotal moment in your life to do with personal development. Were you aware of another shift that took place? Because we're moving forward, we're gone beyond 23. Anything else that comes to mind that you think, I did that, or I read that book, or something happened to change and make a shift for you?
Well, we moved to Queensland from Geelong, Victoria, and my whole idea of leaving the family wasn't easy. So the personal development really helped me with making that decision and making that move. And 23 years later, we've been living in Queensland. So to upend your whole family and not have any support, and knowing that personal development is really something that I really tapped into to keep moving forward and controlling the negative thoughts kept coming in all the time, and knowing that the outcome is, and that's why I had the coach. So I had a big change then 23 years ago when we moved up here with all of that. So yeah, bought another business. So that was the goal.
Wow, you're a glutton for punishment. And what was the one thing at that time that you recall? And this isn't fair, I'm throwing Michelle in the deep end a bit here, but what was the one thing, because that's a huge shift, isn't it, to leave your family behind? It's kind of like you take your training wheels off and you really start to be autonomous. What was the one thing that kept that all moving forward? Do you recall?
I drove it all. I was the person who made it all happen, and my belief in myself and wanting that outcome was the goal. I worked with personal trainers, and I ran a half marathon and things like that when I moved to Queensland. So I really did do a lot of mind work and controlling those negative beliefs, and I think that the personal development journey has just been an ongoing thing. It's never really, I can't really pinpoint one big thing because it's been an ongoing thing. It's been a whole rolling out process. It's just been an exciting life, and I just love that I've been a part of this whole journey, and I'm excited for the next chapter. So yeah,
I think you make a great point, because I think that there is a notion out there, if you like, that if I do this and this, I've made it and I'm sorted. And you're saying it's an ongoing journey, and I believe that. And look at me in my 60s, and I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and I think I'm going to be doing that until I go to sleep, or whatever you want to say, fall off the perch is what we say here in Australia. But I think you have to believe that it has to be ongoing, because it's incremental. Would you say that to be true? What's your take on that whole thing?
Absolutely. You never stop learning. You never, I've never stopped learning. I don't listen to the news anymore. I just listen to, PD all the time. You never stop learning. I actually re-listen to things all the time too, because I get things, and you listen to things so much differently too. And I think that there's no one point that, oh, that's it, I'm done. It's an ongoing journey, 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. And I agree. And the other thing that's interesting that I've found over many years, as someone who's done a lot of personal therapy, a lot of personal growth, you say to yourself, what the heck's this doing coming up again? I'd worked on that. I thought that was done and dusted. And here it is again, looming its head at you. What's your take on that? Do you think that's true for everyone? What's your experience?
Lessons come to me all the time, and I come across people that I meet in life, and that's when I notice that the PD's revisiting me. Like, the personal development needs to kick in. It's kicking in all the time, but when you look at adversity and things like that can happen along the way, I feel that they're life lessons that are coming to us, and it's how to deal with it and how to take it on board and understand, yes, it is just a lesson. It's just absolutely, you need to revisit that again, and you need to improve on that, because it's still here. It's not going away until you get
barking at your heels. That's true. Absolutely. I like your language, I must say, about that, life lessons. I read a lot, especially on social media, the mistakes and the right and wrong, and that sort of language really, I believe, creates more of the same. But you're talking about lessons. Let me ask you this then. In your lifetime, what's been the biggest game changer for you overall in your journey of growth?
Wow. My biggest game changer was probably running the half marathon. I've never done anything like that. I never was a runner. I've been athletic, and that was my big game changer, to know and understand that I was doing triathlons and all sorts. So never done them, and built myself up to do that, and just really made me realize how strong you can be and do and have whatever you want and achieve whatever you want. So that really proved to me took me 3 years to do it, but I walked it, then ran it, then I ran it. So that was one of my biggest game changers, I feel, in my life. Personally.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did you say? You walked it?
Walked it 1 year,
Yeah.
ran it the second year, and then I ran it the third year. Yeah, 21 Ks. So.
That's fantastic. I like that. And that's a little bit like business, isn't it? Except I think in business, you probably pull yourself up, and then you might do a little bit of walking, a bit of falling down, and then you do a bit of running. And what did you take from that marathon that you use now in your life as your half marathon, I beg your pardon? What is it you have taken from that you implement every day in your life now? Is there one thing?
Yeah, life is a marathon. You've got to keep moving forward, and keep, you'll get pulled back every now and then, but you got to keep moving forward and see the big picture, because it does come. Moving to Queensland and upending my family, and then starting a new business, and building that, tripling that in size. That was a big job. That was another big milestone in my life, to know that I can build a business to that level. And having coaches and that along the way helped me get to those lives. So you have your personal trainers, you have your coaches. They are there for a reason. They do assist you and get you to where you want to go. You can do whatever you want, but it can be tough on your own. But having those people in place can absolutely give me has given me my journey that I've experienced. So yeah.
So let's think about this a little bit more, Michelle. Here we are, we're in present day. You're looking brilliant, successful. What is it about success that you know to be true that is foundational in your whole personal development approach? What's really helped you? Because I'm guessing you've had a couple of bricks and mortar business. You've been, what was it? You tripled it in size. You're now solopreneur, doing your thing as a graphic artist. Now I'm guessing that the road's been really super cool, has it? You've had plain sailing all those years, or has there been a few dips in the road?
No, there's been the dips, absolutely, along the way. We basically, we lost our business after 14 years through bankruptcy, and because of staff unfortunately did us a bad turn, and we were too nice. But that was my dip, big dip. I lost everything. So, but it's been 10 years since that happened. And it's absolutely been a process that I've had to go through to get to the other side. So now, I've had that life lesson, and it's been an absolute lesson and a half to have to start over again. And that's my goal. I'm back, baby. I'm going down that path again. And I'm making sure it happens. So my mindset is that it can happen. It's up to you. You just got to want it to happen and believe in yourself. And it will.
Absolutely. And those kind of events in your life, they're character building, as my mother would say, because this part of the journey is pretty cool. This is mediocrity, don't like that much. However, there's a lot of people just sitting there. And these dips, see, it's not about the dips, folks, because we don't like them, but it's coming out the other side, and you've come out the other side and you look fantastic. If I was someone thinking about getting into personal development, because one of the things today, there is so many choices. There's books, there's podcasts, there's free intensive, there's free challenges, there's free this, free that. So in some ways, we have a glut of information. How, as a newbie looking at things, how do I know what's going to be the best path for me to take? Do you think discernment's part of that? Or what would you say to someone looking at, look, they just get a bit overwhelmed?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Michelle, there's so much out there. Where will I start?
There is so much out there. Look, I think we're drawn to what we need, but personally, I think that if you start looking into it, the right thing will come to you and you will feel, it'll feel right. That's just been my experience. I've been attracted to the right information and the right people along my journey, and I'm so grateful for that. So trust in the universe. It does have a big play on it all, I believe.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Trusting the universe. So if I'm out there, I'm looking at all this stuff, then I need to go within. I think this is what you're saying. Tell me if this is not.
Your heart, and it does come about.
That's absolutely brilliant. And any other little gems you'll leave us with? I know you've got a busy day ahead, and I'm so grateful that you took the time. It's early morning here, and I appreciate it. But is there any gems you would like to share with our members today before we go?
Oh, look, where do I start? It's just believe in yourself. You know, we can all get distracted by outside distractions like family, friends. If you believe you can do it, you can do it.
There you go. There you have it from Michelle Peel's mouth, graphic artist. Let me thank Michelle Peel, graphic artist, for joining us today about her personal development journey. Michelle, thank you so much. Like I said, I know you're a busy, busy woman, balancing a lot of plates. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.
You are so welcome.
This week's episode has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.